My name's Jonny. I'm the sports officer at the Students' Union this year. I have been really heavily involved in sport throughout my whole uni career. My background is that I did an accounting and finance degree at the University of Sheffield and graduated in July. And I guess a bit about why I'm speaking here is that I'm working for PwC, who are one of the big four accounting or professional services firms in the UK and worldwide next year. So I'm really excited to start working for them in September when my role finishes here in July. My involvement in sport really helped my application for PwC, and then also helped me during my interview, because a lot of the questions they asked were around teamwork and things like that, and a lot of those answers came from my involvement in the various teams that I took part in while I was at uni. The first part, or the easiest bit to say, oh, this is where it really helped, was the application form online. The first part is to write 200 words for every question they say, and they want really clear examples of when you've shown leadership, or when you've kind of not taken the lead but kind of worked as part of a team and taken instruction, or what one particular project you're really proud of and things like that. And it's really difficult to get those examples from being in a classroom and working as part of a team on a project within the classroom, because actually how much of that was you and how much of that was everyone else. And whereas being part of a team or being on a committee, which is where the vast majority of my experiences come from, really helped me articulate how I had those various skills that they were looking for. And then in the interview, again, it really helped me that the senior partner interviewing me had been really heavily involved in sport while he was at uni. So it really allowed him to kind of quiz, right, what part of this did you enjoy, and actually what were those issues you had with those students and how did you deal with those. And it was quite an informal chat about it, but you could see that he was asking a lot of the questions around trying to find what skills were involved in making any decisions that we used to make being on those committees. Convincing a big employer, or PwC in my case, why I wanted to work for them was the first question that I got asked in my interview. And it was very much, so Jonny, why are you here? Why PwC? Why now? And I had to do a lot of build up to that. So I was saying, so my accounting background from university and the fact I like maths and things like that. But at the end of the day, it was mainly down to the research that I'd done online. So looking, right, I know vaguely that I want to do something finance based, and what are my options? Professional services or accounting was kind of the easiest way into a lot of things for me with the experience that I had. So I kind of went down that line. And then, right, which accounting firms do I want to work for? Obviously being sport and competitive, I went right to the top. I want to look at working for any of the big four, and then looking then within the big four which kind of differences there are between each of the firms. It just happened to be that the one that I chose first was PwC, and then I went and interviewed for them and kind of got the job. It sounds a lot easier than it actually was. There was a 5-step interview, steps before the interview, but it was really good that all that research that I'd done meant that I could answer a lot of their questions with their values and their kind of particular interests in the back of my head, so that it really kind of hopefully struck home with the guy interviewing me about what the answers that he was wanting. Being part of a team for me means knowing your place in the team and knowing kind of what you're responsible for, and there's a certain amount of accountability within the team. And for me, it's always, I've got to make sure that I've got to do that part that I know that everyone else is waiting for, and make sure that what my piece of the puzzle fits in with everyone else's. And one example of that was I was on sports committee for 2 years, and one of the big things that we work on each year is sports awards. And I knew both years, although it wasn't my role to be leading that project, I would get asked to do specific things, whether it is, I don't know, design a poster or speak to the caterers or whatever it is. One of those aspects would be given to me, and I would have to then do that and report back and make sure that my part of the team's kind of overall project was done on time. Leadership's the other aspect, and there's, again, for me, two distinct parts of leadership. There's being the leader, the obvious person giving out the instructions, and then there's being the leader within within yourself and making sure that you are stepping up to something that you're given, to make sure that you're setting an example for the rest of the group. It's one of the most difficult because you're in that position to serve everyone else. They're not serving you, and it's a really weird way of thinking of it, but you've been given a task and you've been voted in or you've been elected, and so you've got that responsibility to your members to, I don't know, make sure the teams are all in order for every week, or make sure the sports ball goes off without a hitch and everyone gets a ticket that wants a ticket, and I don't know, with varsity, that everyone's happy and the right teams playing in the right venues and everyone's happy with that. And so there's you kind of have to work to please others. You're not in that position for others to please you and for others to work towards what your aims are. You've got to really kind of stop and think and ask other people what their opinions are. Your role as a leader, for me, is to facilitate others to be the best person they can possibly be within that team, and to make sure that the team is doing the best it possibly can be, which is for me, is a really difficult thing to do, because you kind of have to put your own personal agenda to one side, despite you probably thinking, and certainly I know I do that, certainly thinking that, oh wait, no, but I'm right on this particular case. But if that's not the general consensus and that's not what students want, then it's really important that we can put our personal agendas to one side and say, right, in this particular case, we're not doing what I want, we're doing what everyone else wants. And that for me is kind of the crucial aspect of leadership that employers kind of want to see. Communication for me is making sure that you know what your message is, and you know who your audience is, and how you're going to make sure that the audience get the information that you're trying to get to them, and to have a really efficient way of disseminating that information between, whether it's students, staff, alumni, I don't know, potential clients in the future. You have to really look at your start to finish process. So your start is, what is our message? Is it clear? Do we know what we want to tell people? And do we know what answers we're going to say when they come back with those questions? Have we made everything as easy to understand for as many people as possible? And then you look at what kind of method of communication you're looking at, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's written, whether it's social media. One of the examples is kind of being a sabbatical officer. One of our main roles is to represent students, or when I say it is our main role to represent students. So one of the really difficult things is having 25,000 plus students each year, and asking them what do they want, and then getting that feedback in and saying, right, well, I'm working on this, and look out for this, and the team think this is a priority for this year. What do you think? So how would being a sabbatical officer enhance someone's employability is, for me, a really easy question to answer, because I've learned so much in the 9 months since I started. In July, I remember sitting in a room with all the outgoing sabbatical officers thinking, oh my God, they all know so much, and how do they know that? And they're so clever. And I think we had a meeting last week, and we were saying, actually, I think if we were now in their positions, we'd be able to hold our own. And you learn so much that the learning curve is so steep. You have to learn about finance and budgets, and then you need to learn about HR and interviewing people and recruitment, and then you need to learn about communications and what the most effective way of doing that is, and then you need to learn about volunteer coordination and how you kind of managing people and things like that. And it's one thing after another, and then the commercial aspects of the business as well. It's like the most intense grad scheme I think that's out there for 1 year. You have a 9 to 5 diary every single day. Every single day is different. In my first 6 months, I think I interviewed for 12 different job positions, interviewing well over 90 people. And for me, having only ever been really in one job interview before that, was absolutely crazy. And the learning curve was so steep and so quick that you have to be confident in those meetings, and you have to be confident sitting in front of someone saying, no, I do know enough to say you are the best candidate, or you are the best candidate. And so yeah, I couldn't encourage you more to get involved and to run for a sabbatical officer, because you do learn so much. And kind of going into a job interview, having been a sabbatical officer, I feel confident knowing what the other person is looking for, and knowing that I have an example for almost every question that they will ask. Touch wood. But yeah, so I think it's really important for people to understand that you will work hard, but you will really enjoy it, and you'll have some really amazing highs, especially for the sports officer. I'm going to be biased and say this: varsity is just around the corner this year, and it's going to be amazing. And for the sports officer, it's the highlight of the year. It's really, really, really hard work, but when you get to that last day, there's no better feeling. So yeah, I can't encourage anyone to get involved more.